Hello, good morning and welcome to our student visa workshop. Today we are going to be recording this session. So if you want to turn your camera off and put yourself on mute for the duration of the session, that would be great. We'll be sending this recording and the slides out as a resource to be used at any point in your student visa process. Again, you can always reach out to any of us on the team as well, and we can assist you. But please note that this will be a resource for you. This session should take about maybe 30 or 40 minutes, and then we'll have time afterwards for any questions you may have. I do want to make sure that you're aware that this Zoom session is only for student visa information. So let's limit our questions specifically to that. We do have our pre-departure orientation sessions this week. The in-person session is tomorrow from 4 to 6 in the Sullivan Center, Galvin Auditorium. And then we have the Zoom session for pre-departure orientation on Friday, and that is from 12 to 1:30. All the RSVPs and the links for that are all contained within your Go Global in your post-decision tab. But if you are having troubles navigating or finding that link, just let me know and I'm happy to guide you to that. So with further ado, I am going to share my screen and I'm going to introduce you to our team. So let me click on this here. And we are going to make sure that everyone can see this. We're good? Okay, great. Awesome. So, like I said, welcome to the John Felice Rome Center Visa Workshop. Our team consists of the following people. Myself, my name's Alana Carroll, and I am the study abroad coordinator for Italy for the John Felice Rome Center, and I handle everything in regards to post-acceptance. This is my email. My Navigate, if you are a Loyola student, you may book here. If you are non-Loyola student, you can just email me, and I have within my signature block links that go to my calendar. So again, if you're a visiting student, just email me and we can set something up so that you have that link so that you can schedule an appointment with me and we can go over things individually. The next person that I'd like to introduce is Adam Schilling. He is our Assistant Director for Enrollment Management for the John Felice Rome Center. You all may have worked with him or Abby in regards to your program application. And again, here is their information here. And again, these are hyperlinks to their Navigate and to their non-Loyola students link for scheduling. The next person is Abby Linneman. She is also an assistant director for enrollment management for the John Felice Rome Center. And again, you may have encountered or worked with her with your program application. So here's her contact information. One of the things that I'd like to kind of mention down here at the bottom, these are really helpful email accounts and websites that you utilize throughout this whole process. You can always email rome@luc.edu and anyone on our team will assist you with your questions. But again, if it's something post-acceptance, you'll want to direct that specifically to me. If it's something about the program itself or the application, you'll want to direct those to Adam and Abby. But again, if you don't remember who does what, you can always email rome@luc.edu and someone will respond to that. The other two items below are websites. One is the luc.edu/Rome. That is the main page in which you initially started your program application through that website. There's lots of helpful information. One of the things that I always like to mention with this specific website is the academic calendar. A lot of students ask when the program starts and ends. And so I like to provide that hyperlink to that website. And later on in the presentation, I'll show you where some of that information is as well, if you don't recall. And then the second website is the Go Global portal. This is where you go for after you've been accepted and deposited and you've already completed, you've set up and completed your pre-decision elements, most of you. And then there are, once you've done that, you move on to the next stage, which is the post-decision elements. And so there's quite a few of those, and some of them have some deadlines. So you want to make sure that you're working through those as best as you can. So we'll move on to the actual student visa process. So students without a valid Italian or European Union passport will need to acquire a student visa for the fall 2024 semester. If you are an EU citizen or an Italian citizen, as long as you have an unexpired passport and it is valid 6 months past the end date of the program, which is December 13th, you can study in Italy without a student visa. Otherwise, all of you need to go through the student visa process. So if you are that EU citizen or an Italian citizen passport holder, make sure to upload a copy of that passport to your Go Global portal. And that way, I know, unfortunately, you still will get reminders on certain things that may not be applicable to you. It's just the way our software system is set up. But I will try my best to make sure that some of those do not go to you and you won't be burdened with those additional reminders, as long as we can get that uploaded into the Go Global portal. If you hold citizenship in a non-EU country other than the US, please reach out to Rome at luc.edu and we can assist you further. There are some unique or different requirements that are needed, and we can walk you through that process. So there are different types of in-person appointments. At this stage, you can either go through the Consulate General of Italy in Chicago, and all students are eligible for a visa appointment here. Or you can go to the Consulate General of Italy for the region you go to school. So for the visiting students, if you go to school out in California, you may be eligible for the jurisdiction within your home institution. So that could be the San Francisco or the LA, or for the region you live in. So if you are a visiting student that is from Detroit, but you go to school out in California, you actually have the ability to utilize 3 different jurisdictions, potentially your home state, which would be the Detroit one, or if your home institution, if you're an SCU student, you would utilize the jurisdiction, you have access to the jurisdiction for the consulate out there. And because you're now temporarily a Loyola student for that semester, you have jurisdiction with Chicago. So you're lucky in that sense that you have multiple options. And then I list the consulates and their jurisdictions here. So I would like to just kind of show you that. This gives you a list of that consular network. So it will tell you for Boston, these are the states that are within their jurisdiction. So if your home state is one of these, you have the option to utilize the Boston consulate. So that's hyperlinked in the slides, so you can go down and see all of this. In addition to that, at the bottom, there is a link that goes to U.S. honorary consular networks. These are people that are designated to do things on behalf of the Italian consulate. So I'll explain a little bit more about that in the presentation. Meeting with that honorary consulate, their officials in another city in which in your eligible regions that you can meet with. Sometimes there's contact information, their names, emails, phone numbers. You can reach out to them, and you can see if you can arrange time in a meeting place, and they'll go over your documents and approve them, and then you would follow by mailing them out to the relevant consulate. So sometimes students use this, but kind of rarely. Typically, they're either doing that in-person appointment or the other option is a mail-in option. And I'll talk about that a little bit further on. So that's the next slide. So the mail-in option is with the Chicago Italian Consulate only. So I just want to make sure that that's very clear. We're lucky in that the Chicago Italian Consulate provides us the opportunity to do a mail-in option. So study visa applicants can submit their application by mail. Make sure that the forms are signed and dated in front of a notary public or that honorary consular correspondent. And when I talk about the forms, I'm referring to the application itself. And we'll go through that again. I'll show you that in a little bit. But that if you're going to do that mail-in option, that application itself has to be signed in front of that notary or that honorary consular correspondent. Rush processing is not possible, and Loyola is not able to intervene on your behalf. So you have to be aware of the timeline and the time constraints involved with the mail-in. That typically takes 4 to potentially 8 weeks. So we provide a little bit later on the dates and times that you have to have things in. So be aware of that. So when should one apply for the student visa? For the Chicago Italian Consulate, there is a 180-day window within which you can apply for that visa. That opened up back in February. So we've had that window open for us since February. And so you want to make sure that you are filing that within that window. Okay. So as I said, it started in February, and because our start date is August 28th. Scheduling your appointment. So there's a platform for booking visa appointments in person, and it's called Prenota at Me, MI, which can be accessed at this website here. I will say at this stage in April, most of those appointments for the Chicago consulate have already been taken. Please keep in mind that they are a small office with maybe 5 or 8 people in the staff. And so they serve multiple states and institutions. So we are not the only school that's filing for student visas. So those appointments do get taken up quickly. However, if you are persistent and you are really looking to have that in-person appointment, you can continue to look on once you create that account in Prenota and you select the Chicago consulate or whatever consulate is within your jurisdiction. You can continue to look to see if there's availability. And so typically if appointments are canceled or there's a change, you can go on their website at midnight time, Rome time, which is about 5 p.m. here, Chicago, and you can see if there's any reposting. So you may be lucky and pick up an in-person appointment that way. The only thing I do want to say with that Prenota is you can only have one Prenota account with one consulate. So as I was talking about some of the students, potentially the visiting students, you may have multiple jurisdictions that you're eligible, but you'll have to delete one to check another. So if you create a Prenota account for Chicago and all of a sudden you're like, okay, I want to pivot and I'm also eligible at the Detroit consulate, then you're going to have to delete that account and switch it to Detroit to look. So be mindful of that. They only allow that one account. The most important part down here is where I'm talking about the consular appointments and the deadlines for that. So if you are going to go for an in-person consular appointment, you need that to be scheduled before July 15th. What I'm hearing from students as of now is that's taking potentially 2 weeks for in-person appointments, that turnaround time. And that's provided you are going in, you're obviously going in person there with your documents and you're returning to go back in person to pick up your documents after they've been processed. So we just like to put that deadline to you that if you're going to have an in-person appointment, have it scheduled before July 15th. If you are doing the mail-in option, as I mentioned, that can take anywhere from 4 to 8 weeks for processing. So we want to make sure that you send your materials in no later than June 15th. That gives some cushion because what I will say is if you do not have a student visa, you are not able to go to the JFRC. So it's important that you do this in a timely manner and that you're checking and leaving enough cushion for yourself so that you do receive that in time for the program. So what documents do I need to apply for the student visa? The basic documents are the same for all the Italian consulates in the US. However, with that being said, some consulates may require additional documents. Our office is more versed on Chicago because that's what we deal with day in, day out. So when you are looking to utilize a different consulate in a different jurisdiction, you as the student have to make sure that you're really looking at their website and communicating with them and determining what else is needed. I always say check the website for the Italian consulate through which you're applying for a complete list. Sometimes they may have like additional copies that are needed, or the letter has to be a certain way, things like that. So you really have to be on top of that and looking at their website. Once you have all your various documents assembled, you're going to bring them to your in-person appointment. Please note that the consulate will take your passport while they are processing this application, so do not plan any international trips during that processing time. So students sometimes fail to remember that or realize that, so they schedule a trip to Mexico or something like that for the summer. You can't do that if you are in the middle of processing for your student visa. So you may have to make other arrangements or change things. So let's go into what is the responsibility of the student in this process. Here is essentially, I kind of created a study visa document checklist. You can use this, but as I mentioned in the previous slides, I always want you going onto the consulate's website pages to look for their specific document checklist. But here's one that I created for you just as a reference and discussion point with this presentation. And this is in relation to the Chicago consulate. So you're going to have the actual visa application, and you're going to print and fill the visa application form for long-term stay, 91 to 365 days. I'll show you what that looks like. I've created, this is what it is, and I've created a template in which I've kind of pre-populated the answers for these. So as long as you are working with this document when you're filling it out, you should be in good shape. I've marked off what needs to be checked. Obviously, some things are going to be individual, like your passport number, date of birth, things like that. But I've gone through here and I've marked things off for you. So this should be a really good guide when you're filling that out. Please note I have some side things here in relation to like this question 29 and 30. These are in relation to your flight itinerary. So when you print off your flight itinerary, those need to match the dates that are on here. So, and then as I mentioned down here, the signature and the date that has to be signed in the presence of the consulate. If you're doing in person, if you're doing mail-in, this has to be signed in front of the notary. So just being aware of that. One of the other things is you're going to need a passport size photo attached to that visa application. If you recently updated your passport and you have an extra passport size photo, you can utilize that. Otherwise, you can go to a CVS, a Walgreens, and if you're a Loyola student, you can go to the campus card office here at the Sullivan Center on the first floor. And I believe for $10, they will issue you 2 passport size photos. So just be mindful, this is not take a picture of your passport from your phone. This is an actual regulated size photo that you need, passport. The next thing is the passport, as I mentioned, the physical passport and a copy. So again, you're going to be providing them with your physical passport, and then you also are going to provide a copy of that passport. And when I say a copy, you want it to have your photo and signature page. So both pages, lay it flat on the glass wherever you're going to make copies and have that. Just make sure that it's legible. It doesn't have to be black and white or color, whatever, that's fine. Again, it just has to be legible. They have to be able to read it. And as I mentioned, for non-US citizens, you'll need an original and 1 copy of the permanent resident card. There's more details on the Chicago consulate page for non-US citizens. And again, I'm happy to help you through that process. So if you fall into that category, just reach out to me and we can work through that together. The next item that you'll have to do is a copy of your driver's license, state ID. This determines the eligibility to apply for the visa at a particular consulate. So it shows proof that you are within that jurisdiction. So some of you may say, I'm a Loyola student here in Chicago, but my home state is New York. Still make a copy of your driver's license. They need to see that. But I always say it's good to also do a copy of your school ID. The acceptance letter that I'll allude to in the next point here shows that you have jurisdiction to the Chicago consulate, but this is just an additional layer to help. So make sure that you do copies of these, okay? Do not submit your physical driver's license because you need that. Just a copy, all right? The next thing is the study abroad insurance letter and acceptance letter. That is organized through Loyola, and that is only sent out after the flight itinerary information and upload is completed in your Go Global portal. So we initially set a deadline of April 1st. So if you have not uploaded or answered those questions as of today, April 9th, please do so. Just again, given the nature of the timeline for this whole process, I can't issue these letters until you do that. So if you have questions about when to fly out of the States, going to Italy, things like that, let me know, shoot me an email. But we want to make sure that you're getting the necessary documents for this process. And again, it's reliant on you filling out that flight itinerary information and the upload within your Go Global portal. Next is proof of financial means. This is a topic that students kind of get a little nervous about. Seems to be a bit daunting, but it's not. Essentially, it's the Italian government needing proof of financial means for you to be in their country for the duration of time that you're there. So they want to know, they do a calculation, and it's $1,000 a month. So for your time for the fall semester, and I'm specifically stating fall, if you're in an academic year, that's going to be different. But if you're a fall semester student, fall term, that's 4.5 months. So you are going to need 4,500 as your proof of financial means. And so typically what you would do is you have two options. You can do the 3 most recent bank statements from your banking account that's in your name as a student, or a letter from a U.S. bank institution on the bank's letterhead, signed by a bank official with a recent date indicating the account balance. So students get a little confused about the bank statement piece. What I will say about that, as I mentioned, it's 3 most recent bank statements. So let's back it up. Let's say you're providing, it's April, so you're doing March, February, and January. January and February don't have to have the 4,500, but the most recent one, the March one, does. Okay, but they still need to see a history. They still need to see your bank statements for the past 3 months. But the most important one being the most recent one, and that has to have that minimum balance of 4,500. Some students, and again, it depends upon the dynamics in your family situation or your legal guardians. If you don't have the means, the proof of financial means, some families or legal guardians will transfer those funds into your bank account. They'll do that because they don't want to do the additional layer that's sometimes involved. And I'll explain that in the next bullet point. Some students, if you are solely relying on your financial aid for your proof of financial means, then you have to work with the financial aid office to get a letter. I will say, and their email address is lufinaid@luc.edu. I will say that there is a backup, as we all know, with the whole FAFSA. So some of those packages and those recalculations have been pushed back. So be mindful of that. But I say reach out to your financial aid office to get the discussion rolling so that they're aware you're studying abroad and that you need the letter. What I will say is it's not required. If you have that amount, that 4,500 in your bank account, you don't have to supply a financial aid letter. Even if you do get financial aid, you already have the funds in your account. That's fine. That's all you need. Yes, will you potentially be using your financial aid package for some things with your study abroad program? Absolutely. But again, if you have that amount already in your bank account, you don't have to add that letter to this. If anybody has questions about that, you can ask after the session or you can reach out to me via email. The other thing, as I mentioned here, is if the applicant does not have the funds because they are supported by parents or by their legal guardians, then the legal guardians or parents have to supply the 3 most recent bank statements or the letter. In addition to that, they have to do what's called an affidavit of support. And that's a document that I will show you later on where you can find that, either on the Chicago website, Italian consulate website, or on our Go Global portal. I have a section that says helpful visa documents. Just be mindful that that affidavit has to be signed by your parent or legal guardian in front of, if you're doing in person with a consulate, in front of the visa officer. But if you're not and you're doing mail-in, then it has to be notarized, signed in front of a notary. So that's an additional layer, as I was talking about. So some students don't want to deal with that, so they have those funds transferred in. Again, you're going to have to find out what's the best approach for your family and your dynamics. The next thing is the confirmed flight in and out of Italy. If you are only studying abroad for that term, you do need to provide a round trip itinerary to them. The Italian government needs to know when you're coming into their country and when you're leaving their country. Now, some students have determined that they're taking a train somewhere for departure. Upload that as well, or send me the proof of purchase for that. Like they're flying in from the States to Italy, but when they're departing Italy, they're taking a train up to a different location. We just need to have proof of that, and so does the consulate. So be mindful that you're going to need to provide that as well. But if you're a year-long student, you only have to present a one-way ticket together with proof of available funds for the purchase of that return ticket. So you would cushion into your proof of financial means the amount for a typical one-way ticket going back. And again, if you're a year-long student and you're confused by the amount for the financial means or the flight, just reach out to me and I can clarify that for you. The last thing that I want to, well, not the last thing, but one of the other things that I want to mention is the Chicago consulate and any of the other consulates throughout the US do not process this visa application for free. So there is a fee that's associated with it. So you will have to provide for the Chicago consulate for Italy, or the Chicago Italian consulate, you have to have a money order. And so you want to make sure that you're looking on their page for the section at the bottom that says consular fee. Those can vary and they can change at any time. So I want to make sure that you are aware of that and you know where to go. So let me just show you here for the Chicago consulate here. At the bottom, you're going to see consular fee. Click on that. And the last item, which is Visto Nazionale per Motivo di Studio, that money order has to be for $54.30. And so I will show you a little further in the next slide what a money order looks like and how to fill that out. So lastly, you're going to need a return envelope for your passport and visa if you can't go and pick it up in person. So if you are doing the in-person appointment, there is benefits to that because it's a shorter turnaround time. So you're going in person, presenting your documents, signing things, then you will return within the number of days that they tell you to go pick it up. And that's great. You won't need a return envelope. However, if you're doing the mail-in option, because you live across the country and you're mailing into Chicago, you're going to have to provide not only the envelope to mail all your items, but a return envelope so that passport gets back to you. So make sure that you do that return envelope for your passport and visa. And you can utilize a USPS Express or Priority Mail envelope. You can use a FedEx or UPS, whichever carrier that's listed here that you're comfortable with. please, please make sure that with these envelopes that you utilize a tracking number. It's important because you are putting lots of important documentation in here. Things about yourself, your passport, a money order, all of those things are very sensitive, right? And important to you. So you need to make sure that both envelopes have a tracking number and that you have recorded that tracking number so that you can track the envelopes and know that it's once you've handed it over to be mailed out in a day or two, go onto that carrier's website and plug in that tracking number so that you can see it's been successfully delivered to the consulate. And then I would calculate, once you know that it's been delivered, calculate anywhere from 4 to 8 weeks to go back onto that carrier's website and plug in the other tracking number for that return envelope so that you can see when it's departed from when it's left the Chicago consulate and it's en route back to you. I am unable to track that for you. These are individual things. So make sure that some students get excited. They put the tracking number on the envelope, but they never write it down. So then they're like, well, I don't know how to find it. It's like, well, I don't either. So you have to make sure that you're writing down that tracking number. Okay. And then make sure that the other thing is make sure that it's prepaid. Some students just ask the questions when you're at the carrier. Do I need to put stamps on this? If I buy this envelope, is it a prepaid envelope? Things like that, so that you make sure that it's getting out there. And then also do a self-address and a photocopy of that label and include that in your packet. And lastly, if you are doing that mail-in option, you have to do consent to send by mail form. Basically, this is a form that the Italian government has you fill out and sign if you're doing the mail-in option that exempts them from if your passport should be lost, stolen, or damaged. They are not responsible for that. So in order to process all your documents for that mail-in option, they need to see this actual form within that packet. They won't look at your documents unless it's there. As I mentioned, the money order, applicants are required to pay a processing fee in the form of a personal money order. So please check the exact amount on your consulate's website, like I mentioned, and make your money order out to the Consulate General of Italy and put the city. So if it's Consulate General of Italy in Detroit, put that, or Chicago. Use the address of the consulate, and please make sure to write your name. So I filled this out for you. So here's your date, there's your check amount, here's what you fill out here, put their address, the consulate's address, all of that information. Here's where all your information goes. Please make sure that you write your name, all of that. You can purchase a money order at this one is from the United States Postal Service. So this is a really good example, but you can also get one from a bank or a currency exchange. They may look slightly different, but the information is going to be essentially the same. Just note that any alterations to the money order, like if you make a mistake and you use whiteout or something like that, it will be unacceptable. So make sure that you're carefully filling this out. And then, as I mentioned, if you are doing that mail-in option, once your documents are assembled per the instructions on their website, you can mail it. Here's the address. You can find that address also on their website, but I provided it here for you as well. And then here is a list on this presentation of help with documents. This is the template that I referred to for the visa application form. So that's linked there. Here is the blank affidavit of support document. So if your parent or legal guardians are helping you with the proof of financial means, this is the document that we refer to here. If you are mailing in, this is the consent to mail in form as well. And then lastly, I put the financial aid questions, their email address. You should be reaching out to them if you have any questions there. Again, I'm here to help you through this process. That may take one Navigate appointment. It may take multiple Navigate appointments. I'm available and I'm a resource, so please make sure that you are reaching out to me if you have any questions and set up an appointment via Navigate. Also, I am in the Sullivan Center in Suite 206 on the second floor. If it is a quick question and I'm available, I'm happy to answer that. However, what I will say when it comes to the visa process, it's usually a more lengthy process. So, you know, be mindful of my time and the other students as well. So the best form of getting those answers is through Navigate. But if it's just like a simple one question, and as I said, if I'm available, I'm happy to answer that. And then I just want to point out, lastly, I mentioned the Rome Center and the talking about the calendar and such. I just want to point out under here, that's at luc.edu/Rome. This is where you're going to find the academic calendar. So this is important when you are booking flights. A lot of students seem to kind of have some troubles navigating to this. So I wanted to point it out. This is for the fall semester. And so you want to be looking at this column for 2024. So that official move-in date, all students are due on campus is the 28th. So most students will fly out of the US on the 27th and arrive in Italy on the 28th at some point. The other thing that I want to point out is the mandatory departure for students. You have to depart the Rome Center on December 13th. So you'll have to book your flights for the 13th of December. In addition to that, there's lots of other helpful information about the campus and courses and things like that. So that's really helpful. And then I do want to point out with the Go Global, let me go here. When you're on, oops, sign in here. When you're in your Go Global portal, there are resources available to you as well. And so sometimes students are not sure how to get to that. So a good thing to do is when you're on the Go Global, hit programs. And when you go into programs, just type in John Felice Rome Center. And that's going to take you to what I call essentially our brochure, our Go Global brochure. When you click on that, you're going to see lots of helpful information on here as well. So this is what I was talking about. There's different tabs here. These are the people involved in the process behind the scenes. These are hyperlinks to all their emails or pages. This talks about academics and it goes for fall. This is tuition, financial aid scholarships, housing options, passport and visas. But the biggest one is this helpful visa document. This is where that template is located that I talked about. This is also where that blank affidavit of support is located. The consent to send by mail. This is from our previous workshop, the video and slides. Those are hyperlinked here as well. So with that being said, we can open it up to any questions you may have. You can also, if you're not comfortable, you can put them into the chat box and we can also, you know, try to answer them that way as well.
Excuse me, where could we find the PowerPoint that you just were presenting?
Yeah, that's exactly where I just mentioned. If you go to abroad.luc.edu, that's that Go Global portal. That's where your registration is. If you go into your, there's kind of one of two ways, and I can share my screen again. Let me just go here real quick. Let me share this. You can either use it, oops, go here, share this, see that? Go down there and put that over. This is the Go Global. So if you just generally go to abroad.luc.edu, this is what you're going to see. You hit programs here. You're going to type in for the program name, the John Felice Rome Center. And when you hit enter, That's all you need to do is just keep it simple like that. When you hit enter, it's going to take you to what we offer here. So you're going to select that John Felice Rome Center. And it's going to take you to the brochure page that I talked about. And so within that brochure page are all these tabs. But under that helpful visa document tab is where the video and the slides. Now I'll update that with today's recording these, but it's the same. We had multiple visa workshop sessions throughout the semester so far. So our last one was back in March. And so I posted that there. So hopefully by the end of the week or early next week, I'll have the video and slides from today's session as well. Did
Thank
that
you so
help?
much.
Sure.
Yes.
Any other questions? I'll stop sharing this. Looks like there was, oh, everybody's answering questions here. Great. That's good. Thanks, team members. Okay, Abby and Adam are answering all these questions. I love it. Thank you. Does anybody else have any questions? If not, then that will come. It's supposed to be your actual passport. Just a no, it has to be. Thanks, Margaret. You said, is the passport size photo supposed to be your actual passport photo, or can it be just any photo of yourself? It has to be a passport photo. So you have to go to, like I said, a Walgreens or a CVS, and you have to get a passport size photo. It has to be on that white background. It's like that. Okay. All right. Well, this is a quiet group. So either I covered a lot and you all digested it greatly, or if you have, like I said, if you have additional questions, definitely feel free to reach out to me. I am a resource. I'm here to help you. I know this process can look a little daunting, but if you chip away at it, it's not as bad. And I am always here to help you out with any questions you might have or any reviews of your documents as well. We can do it in person, like I said, via Navigate, or we can do it via Zoom. So either or. So for some of our students that are visiting and halfway across the country, I am still available here for you, and I want to help you through that process. So if there are no other questions, I'm going to end the session, and I hope to see you all tomorrow, either in person for PDO or via Zoom on Friday. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.